When my kids were little, there were several online spaces for them to be able to hang out, chat with other kids, and have a good time as they were exploring these different online worlds. So there was things like Animal Jam, which was made by National Geographic. There was Club Penguin, which was later acquired by Disney. There was Pixie Hollow, and even Jumpstart had a massive online world as well. These are called massive multiplayer online role playing games, or otherwise known as MMORPG. They kind of took after games like Warcraft, where there was a massive online world that a lot of people of the same interests could hang out and have fun together. So these spaces that were built for kids, they had in-game currency, they had colorful worlds, they had safe chats and safety warnings. And they were usually fandom specific. So, Barbie had one, and there was a dragon one, and obviously the Animal Jam one if you like animals. So there was a lot of different worlds. I think way back in the day, I even did a review for a horse one. So no matter what kind of fandom your kids were interested in, they could find like-minded people through these platforms. And they were built for kids to interact with other kids. Obviously, there was always the fear of predators on these platforms. There was safety protocols put in place by the company and by parents. So, you would watch what they were doing or limit their chat to very specific responses. So there was a lot of things that you could do to keep the environment safe for your child. And then these online worlds started disappearing. So Animal Jam, Club Penguin, these Jumpstart platforms, they all kind of started going away. And I was left wondering, why are they disappearing? So first, I think people are moving away from having a desktop computer in their home. There are mobile games and tablets where people aren't just sitting at a computer anymore. They are using these smaller devices in order to interact with the online world. So mobile apps became a huge focus for a lot of these companies. It's also very expensive to keep up. You have to have the online servers, you have to continue to make it safe for kids, monitoring and managing that platform and making sure the content is okay and everything that's happening in the platform is going to be safe for a child can get very expensive and pretty overwhelming. And kids are fickle, so they might be super into a game this week and then the next week they're not as into the game. So parents would have to spend money on a monthly subscription in order for their child to play on these platforms, might not feel like the money was worth it if the kid is going to continue to lose interest in what is happening on the platform. Another reason I could see these online platforms fading into the bin reserved for all of the .com failures is that legislation started getting a little more particular about kids being on an online space. So the COPA, which is actually a really old law, but it states that kids under the age of 13, companies can't have data for those children. So if a child has an account on Animal Jam, how are they kind of circumventing the COPA restrictions? So managing the safety of the platform, the legislation around the platform, and kids losing interest in the platform, it kind of makes sense that all of these spaces might go away eventually. But what is the result of these online spaces going away? Kids are still online. They navigate instead towards social media or other things that aren't really built for them. They're built for adults, but there's no space for them in the online world for them to congregate. So they are moving towards these platforms that are not built for them. So that's why you see a huge uptick in Discord and TikTok and Reddit and kids in these online spaces that really they don't have any business being in. They also turn to AI chatbots in order to get that kind of sense of community and sense of conversation with other people. And then of course there is Roblox, which is a platform where other content creators can upload their own games, and it gives them lots of different spaces in order to play these games and interact with other people. Unfortunately, Roblox has a really hard time monitoring that content. And so it has become kind of an unsafe environment for kids. Again, it's not necessarily built for kids. It's built mainly social media platform, but the platform is that instead of uploading your pictures, you're uploading games that you've created. And then you're playing those games with other people and talking to other people in the platform. But it doesn't have the safety and restrictions that are in place in some of these former online platforms that were built for children, like the ability to just have communications that are pre-written words or phrases that they're allowed to send. Instead of allowing kids to have that social interaction with other peers, they are turning more towards AI chats in order to get that interaction, as I mentioned. This fills that social void that they've got because the platform is gone. But an AI chat is not necessarily a great place for learning conflict resolution and learning how to work with people that are other personalities. An AI chatbot is going to be like the ultimate yes man. So you ask them a question, yes, that's the most amazing question I've ever heard. And it's going to continue to give you that echo chamber, being able to understand what is happening in the real world. It's just going to give them this false sense that everybody always agrees with me, or I have all of these fantastic ideas, which is a good thing to learn if you don't have to resolve any conflicts with other peers. Then it might become difficult to do that in your adult life. So the question I have today is the lack of online spaces for kids driving kids to social media and other places where that's not really built for them? Or is the interest in social media driving the fact that there's no online spaces? It's kind of a chicken and the egg scenario that I'm very curious on what you think on that. Is the fact that they want to be on social media, or the fact that they're on social media because there's no other place for them to have that social interaction? So what should we do about this? Because I'm not saying that a whole bunch of spaces should be created for kids, because again, it is very difficult. It's expensive. I understand why there aren't a lot of companies itching to get involved in this, because it is hard to keep kids safe. So you can, as a parent, do some things that can give them that same experience, but allow them to have it in a safer environment. For example, Minecraft has the ability to create your own Minecraft server. It takes some setup and it takes a little bit of know-how, and maybe I'll do a video on it. I'm sure there's tons of videos on YouTube that will help walk you through setting up your own Minecraft server. But you set up your own Minecraft server, and then you can invite peers. You can invite their friends. You can invite relatives. You can invite people that you know that will be able to communicate with them in a safe environment. So it still gives them that ability to have an online space and an online world to communicate, but you can manage who gets to communicate with your child on that online space. And while I don't necessarily think that every kid should be on Discord, but there are some ways that you can keep Discord a little safer, and that's create your own Discord server for your family, for their friends, and then you can manage their Discord account through your own account. You just set up the parental controls within Discord, and then you will know if they try and join any other servers, if they're communicating with people you don't approve of. So you can really lock it down to just that online space that is open to only people that you are allowing into that space. If you create your own Discord server and you're the admin of it, so nobody can get into that server without your say-so, then you're going to be able to manage who your child can communicate with on Discord. And then the biggest solution kind of sounds like the simplest solution, but create play dates. Let your kid go to the park with their friends. Because I'm a Gen X, I know it was drilled into us that there are kidnappers all over the place in a white van ready to kidnap your child. And so as a generation, I think we've kind of overcorrected on that. And we're afraid to let our kid wander down the street into the park with their friends because we're scared of what's going to happen to them. there are ways to still keep your child safe and let them roam free if they need to. And that's going to give them some social interaction. So if they don't want to walk to the park by themselves, then maybe arrange for some friends to meet at the park. You want to arrange these real live situations where they can have that conflict resolution. So make sure your child is getting out, enjoying other people's company, and interacting with people in the real world, because since they're not able to get that online, they're going to be able to go out into the real world and figure out how to do conflict resolution, how to work with other people, how to have fun, and have that social interaction with others. So again, I'm not saying that we should start creating all these online spaces for kids, but I will say it was nice to have some places where your child can interact with other children. Granted, you're going to need to talk to them about who is online, and that the person that you're talking to might not be a kid your age. It might be some predator behind the keyboard. So if anything they say or anything is concerning, let you know right away. Have some oversight into what they're communicating. But, it's kind of less of an issue because these online spaces have gone away. So what do you think? Do you think that kids should have some online space that they can interact with strangers? Or do you want to create these online spaces for your child instead and allow them that kind of autonomy? So here's what I would love to see. I would love to see some enterprising parent create a platform where parents can build an online space in a really easy way. So like, let's say, hey, your kid is interested in dragons or birds. Here is an online space that you can create for your child that has to do with birds. And you control that, kind of similar to the Discord server setup, where I can control who can get access to that platform, and I can control like what they're saying. I can open it up to the public. I mean, it sounds a little like Roblox, but not exactly. Like, these online worlds are kind of pre-created with different types of fandoms or interests. And then you as a parent can say, okay, yes, I want to create an online space for my child that is about birds. And so we create this online space, they become a bird, there's all these different things, and then you lock down exactly who they can communicate with and who they can talk to. So I would love to see that happen. So somebody out there, if you do build that, let me know, or give me a cut or whatever. I think it would be really interesting to see that kind of online space for kids again. So again, let me know in the comments what you think about kids' online spaces, if you think they shouldn't have them, if they should have them in a lockdown environment like I just mentioned, or we should just start pushing them to meet with other kids outside. Because kids do need to learn this social interaction, and they also need to learn how to use technology. So hopefully we can figure out a good way to allow them access without all the pitfalls that go along with that. And we will see you in the next one.